Welcome to I Am Goddess Collective podcast, a sacred space for empowerment through modern magic, spiritual activism, and reclaiming your power. I am your host, Nixie Marie, feng shui practitioner, earth activist, and mystic, here to support and inspire your journey in becoming the change you wish to see in this world. That change starts within. Join myself and fellow thought leaders, metaphysical experts, and luminaries each week as we explore practical and magical ways to living in your highest alignment. Your journey as an empowered goddess begins here. Let's dive in. Hello, lovely ladies. Welcome back to another episode of I Am Goddess Collective podcast. Yeah. I hope you're having a fabulous day and whether you're driving, chilling out, cooking some meals, dancing. I don't know what you're doing, but I hope you're having an awesome, epic, fantastic moment. And if you're, going through it right now, I feel you. I love you. And just know that everything is temporary. The energies lately, am I right? Like Mercury retrograde, back at us again. Lots of things to process, lots of revisiting, lots of things resurfacing, lots happening in the astral realms that are giving us the permission to really make full peace, I think, with our past. I think that's a big theme happening right now, making peace with our past. Not an easy one to do. So I give you lots of credit if that's what you're currently doing right now. But I do have a really exciting episode for you guys today. I have the lovely Nadine Artemis, who is such an amazing genius. I was very excited to be connected with this woman and we actually were able to record in my studio in Topanga. So that was amazing to connect with her and her energy. It's always such a pleasure when I get to have my guests come in person. It's not always the way it works around here. So always super blessed when that happens. And Nadine is a beauty expert, like an expert. She understands women's beauty and health and all the things that I had so many questions for her as far as like women's skin, women's urinary tract system, our reproductive system. We just go into so many different layers of health and beauty. And I think it's such a perfect episode as we close out February for this to be a way in which we can be revisited back to like, what is our beauty routine? What is our regimens? What is our rituals? How are we honoring ourselves in the morning, in the evening, during the day? Are we honoring ourselves? Like what does that look like for you? And if you are looking to try out new products, of course, Nadine has an amazing product line and she talks all about it in this podcast episode. So I'm very excited to have you all listen to her and meet her. I feel like she's like a new soul sister and you guys are going to feel the same way in this beautiful sacred sisterhood conversation. Before we get into the podcast today, I have some exciting news. I love you. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do. I really do. But exciting news is it's the end of February. I don't know. Actually, I don't really have any exciting news for you guys today. I'm just joking with you. But I do want to just remind you that we've got actually now a 7-day free trial going on within the Goddess Life membership. So if you've heard me talk about the Goddess Life membership before and you're interested in joining this sacred coven, which is an online space for empowerment, sisterhood, and self-love. So for those of you guys that contributed to the 7-day Goddess Self-Love Challenge in February, thank you so much. We had so much fun curating that, myself and Olivia, my lovely partner in crime here on Goddess Collective team. She made some very sensual meditations. So if you guys missed out, don't worry. We're going to do it again. We had so much fun doing it and it was such a good success. So thank you. But within that's a lot of what you'll see in the Goddess Life membership is the meditations, rituals, monthly rituals, and overall support. Like when I get to connect with you guys in a live Zoom chat, it literally lights me up. And the thing that I'm realizing the most is there's a lot of power and healing that's happening within me as well as I create these meditations and as I create the rituals and as I get to sit with you all. It's definitely a two-way street. This dance, this tango we're all doing here, I'm in it with you guys. Like, I'm deep in it. And I've got a lot of stuff coming up. Like, this month was inner child healing, and I don't even know that I was ready for that. Like, I didn't even know what was coming on that level. I'm definitely going to have to create an episode just highlighting how this month, being the theme of inner child inside the membership, really kind of put me on my freaking hands and knees and really woke me up to this sleeping giant, to this shadow part of me that I've been addressing but really stuffing down. And I think you guys have heard me say a lot that this month was about bringing everything to the surface so that we can heal it. Yep, well, that's exactly what's happened over here in Nixie's world. And on top of it, I actually did fracture my pinky finger. So that's been a very interesting setback, I'll be honest, but we're still pushing through and healing, and it's just been an interesting month. So I just want you to know you're not alone in whatever you're going through and growing through, and that's what I've got for you. I mean, this podcast episode should inspire you, uplift you, and remind you to take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, whatever you're going through, whether that be the inner child trauma or healing or challenges in daily life, what's true in this moment is that, yes, everything is magical. Yes, everything can be unicorns and fairies. But guess what? Life is not always rainbows and unicorns and fairies. And when life hits the fan, it's all about how you handle it, not about what happens. So I think that goes right into this beautiful conversation with Nadine, how we discuss beauty and self-love and how to care for your skin and understanding on a deeper level, like as deep as even the earth soil and how that relates to our health. That's what we get into and how it's so important. So I'm excited. Are you guys excited to meet Nadine? I'm ready to bring her on. So I love you all so much. I'll see you on the other side. Let's welcome Nadine to the show. Hello, lovely ladies. Welcome back to another episode of I Am Goddess Collective podcast. I'm excited to be recording today in the studio with a lovely sister who's here in person, which is always a pleasure because sometimes I'm always on Zoom and, it's good to connect. We've got the lovely Nadine Artemis on the show. Hello, Nadine.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here and dive into all of your craft and your wisdom. So for those of you guys that don't know who Nadine is, and also I just have to say, Artemis, last name, is that your real last name? Okay. I'm a Sag, so Artemis is like my guiding goddess.
Oh, sweet. I've got quadruple Sag in my chart.
Oh, wow. So we feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Nadine is a wealth of knowledge. She is described by Alanis Morissette as a true sense visionary. Nadine is an innovative aromacologist. Wow, that's a big word. Aromacologist dedicated to shifting the beauty and wellness paradigm towards a more natural model. She can talk about all things skin, body, and overall health. She has best practices on using plant extracts as holistic body care, the root causes of skin imbalances, the first line of defense for health and beauty and how we can strengthen it, and the frequency of botanicals, plant mysticism, it's obvious why she's here, where health and spirituality meet. Wow, what an amazing bio you've got there. Can you believe that's you?
So, bios are always a strange thing, It's
like, is that me? Yeah. Really? I did all that work? Amazing. Well, I love to start off the show with this question. What crystals are you currently working with and why?
That's a great question. I'm trying to think of what I'm traveling with. I'm traveling with just really simple quartz crystal because I just love that. And keeping it simple also with some authentic citrine. Yeah.
I like how you said authentic because, as maybe some of the listeners don't actually know what that means. So can you kind of elaborate on what authentic citrine means?
I mean, I don't know a ton. I just know that most of the citrine on the market is actually amethyst, which is amethyst is lovely, but it isn't citrine.
Yeah.
So it's important to ask when you're buying the crystal, like if it is a true citrine.
Yeah. Yeah. And from what I understand, like citrine without it being like it sits in the sun and that's what turns it into, or amethyst sits in the sun and then it turns into citrine and that's what makes it not authentic.
I thought it was like a bit like played with in a lab.
Oh,
because some of the stones are, but clearly something we need to investigate further.
Yeah, just make sure it's authentic, right?
Yes.
Well, amazing. So Nadine, tell me a little bit about like what led you to this journey. Before we began, you kind of said, you started this when you were 18. So how did you become a health and beauty expert?
Well, I certainly wasn't by the time I was 18, but, I spent my childhood a lot. I had so much nature around me and that was really great. So there was just that, being outside for hours left to my own devices and just exploring like, a patch of grass or leaves and squishing them. And so I definitely just always resonated with nature and couldn't wait to spend every summer day outside and that kind of thing. And also at the same time, I was really into like mixing things in the house, like whatever they were, raiding my mother's bathroom. And then I would get all the hand-me-downs in my family because I was the youngest of all the potions and stuff. So there was just sort of a whatever the word is.
Inclination.
Thank you. Simple word. Lost it. And then in grade 9, I did a science fair project, which was just sort of like another little moment. And I decided to do it on perfumes because that's what I was fascinated with. And I found a book at the library that went through the history and how they were made, which brought to my attention the word essential oils. And then they said you could probably find them at a health food store. So we drove to the big city, went to the health food store, and that was the first whiffs I had of things like blood orange, or it wasn't blood orange, it would have been sweet orange or ylang ylang. And so I proceeded to recreate L'air de Temps using natural essential oils, and that was just super fun and a key moment. And then, just kind of went through, that was in grade 9, going through teenagehood, just loving giving my girlfriends makeovers in the back of the bus and having fun that way. And thinking that with like the Body Shop that we were always like, green beauty. I don't even know if we called it then, but thinking this was natural and things, pineapple face wash and stuff. But then when I was 18 and I was at university and I was really understanding the whole food situation for the first time and understanding that the supermarket was just really like, a few companies and what you're, really looking at labels and understanding what I was eating. And it was just all within a few week period where I also was like, well, what am I putting on my body? And then I really realized that, there was nothing natural about those products. And, they'd never seen pineapple and dewberry wasn't a plant.
I don't think I've ever heard of dewberry.
Yes, one from that line. Yeah, from the Body Shop.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to diss them, but it's just part of the story. But I was like the cucumber face toner doesn't have cucumber in it. It's just basically like,
what exactly is it?
I haven't looked at the label in many years, but it's probably like a kind of isopropyl alcohol with like added fragrance, essentially, and water. So cheap, synthetic. Not good for the skin. So I just started making my own food. I never ate processed food again, totally went organic, really understand that whole thing. And then proceeded to make all my own skincare. I'm just at university. So, making like lip balm and perfumes and things and making formulas for my friends and family. And it was just really popular and people really liked it and it worked. And then, so as I'm, in school and doing all that research, which really made a nice segue because I majored in women's studies, which was the great thing about it, so interdisciplinary. And it was really quite, I guess, modern for lack of a better word, but we were challenging like education and the history of all that. So it was a really great way to like gain critical thinking and questioning where I could channel that. Because before it was just sort of like rebellion at all that. But now it was like, had some intellectual grit behind it. And like our textbooks were things like the beauty myth or our bodies ourselves, really understanding, what we were using for birth control, like IUD and the horrors of birth control, which was like, what what a great thing to learn at university.
Yeah, wow.
You know? So that was really fascinating. And also just, it's very interdisciplinary. So I was able to, you know, look at Taoism, women's experience with Taoism in ancient China, or like, you know, like just all over. It was super great. And then at home, I'm going through, you know, learning about the food and body care, and then, you know, doing a lot of deep research there because I'm reading things that I can't get a hold of. So then I start like looking at how I can like import, you know, rare extracts and raw materials at the same time. So I was developing all of that at the same moment. And then when I graduated, you know, totally unrelated to any of my learning, I opened up North America's first full concept aromatherapy store, where I was 22 and we had like this beautiful blending bar where we custom make perfumes and sell essential oils by the drop. And then I had all my formulas up, you know, for sale, mainly body care and different essential oil blends and stuff. And then I started speaking at conferences and blah, blah,
Here
blah.
you are.
Here we are. Yes.
Well, that's quite a journey. And I love that you know, you started from scratch and sort of just started somewhere. What was like your biggest challenge getting started on all this?
Oh God, it's hard to say because I feel like there's like little moments. Well, first, you know, even just like gathering savings and capital to open the store. But I mean, that just seems like not that challenging now. I mean, well, we had moments throughout, like, about 5 years ago, you know, everything burnt down to the ground. We had a huge fire.
Oh my gosh.
So that was really challenging because like literally like everything went. We just had what was on our backs, the whole business and our whole home.
Where were you?
We were at our home, but we had like on our land because we since have moved from the city and we live on gorgeous like 200 acres of land, and the house had become the home, and we had moved out and made little cabins until we were about to build our headquarters. So we'd been saving for years. We were literally like, we built the road, architectural, got all that, and it was to start on Monday, but the fire was Saturday, Sunday. So
this was in California?
Plans. No, we live in Ontario, Canada.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that was insane. But what I did learn was, and we have we have a complex business, right?
Yeah.
We're not just making like one item and it's just like, you know, one material. It's like we have over 300 raw materials that then we create over 200 products with. And that's a beautiful thing, but it's complex, it's diverse. But what we did learn was that we're really agile as like, you know, kind of complex of the complexities of what we make. There's a lot around it. There's also a lot of simplicity. And then thankfully we just had the savings because we had been saving to build the headquarters. So that was able to get us sort of restarted. And then we have all our beautiful clients that were just like, we said, you know, it was August the 2nd. We said, well, order. And we hope to aim to ship September 3rd. A month later. I don't know how we did it, but we did start. You know, we didn't have everything made, but we just started, and everybody just loves their libations. And so we had just so much support, and really feeling that sense of community was really lovely.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how the phoenix like rises from the ashes, you know? And I think it's important to hear those parts too, because it's so easy to paint a picture of what success is. And especially like as a woman, you know, there's often these moments where real things happen in business that can like totally just come up randomly and you don't know that it's coming, you know, because it's a big fire literally that you've got to put out.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. What a journey. Well, you know, for women out there who are sort of interested more in exactly the root of what you're working with, like the plants, a lot of the listeners here, I mean, we all
love the plants.
We all love the plants, you know, us witchy women, but what are some of the products like, well, I guess a bigger question is, what is the importance of using these products versus, you know, chemical? I think it's obvious, but for someone who's totally green to this, just kind of exploring, you know, this realm of going green or doing something more natural, what is the importance of that?
I think now that we have like a real I mean, we're going to keep understanding the body, right? Like every new decade, it'll be like, oh, we didn't know that before. And now what we're really understanding is the whole microbiome. And I think in the previous decade to that, it was like really understanding the endocrine system. Again, I say understanding, we haven't got it all mapped out. There's a lot of mystery there. But before, maybe in the late 80s and early 2000s, we were like, the endocrine system, and we could see how things could really affect that.
Yeah.
And now if we so that the toxins were affecting us in our skincare. And now with the layer of the microbiome, we're really understanding even further, if you needed more proof, that it's not, just generally 99% of all skincare, modern skincare, is messing with the microbiome. It's mutating our microbes in a time when we need that diversity, because we've already lost, we're like, the soil is extinct from all its juicy nutrients and its microbes. That's what, and we're facing on the planet like an extinction of animals and species.
Yeah, I know.
And in our own body, we're operating with about 1,000 less species of beneficial bacteria than we used to. And that's like because of antibiotics and GMO diets and all that kind of stuff. And so it's the same with our skin. And, the skin microbiome is huge. It's a huge, obviously, because the skin is our largest organ, and it's completely connected, obviously, to the gut microbiome. And that's something we really need to take care of. And so when we also see what's left on our bodies, when they study the microbiome, they're able to do special type of photography and like have people apply things and then like take these special kind of photography a couple days later, and it's still all there sitting on there, the shampoo, the sunblock, all of that. And it's not allowing the skin to breathe. Everything breathes. So we need to allow for that respiration. And we're using ingredients that are petroleum derived and chemicals. We're literally kind of covering our bodies in saran wrap. We're mutating the microbes, and we're messing with that whole little ecosystem that, beyond our beauty, it's really part of our innate immune system. And we want to care for our skin. And what we realize with these studies are also understanding that even after we wash our face, microscopic splinters of surfactants remain in the stratum corneum for days, months, years. And we get this buildup from, just that what we think is a gentle foaming face cleanser with like mild sodium lauryl sulfate or something like that. So we're seeing the results of that. Or, if diseased breast tissue, when it's examined, they'll see that there's like methylparabens in there. So what we understand is that really, truly, every drop counts.
Wow.
And so we need that botanical wisdom, because we don't just want to go neutral. Okay, so we get rid of the toxins and we just, I don't know, something that would just be less toxic, but we have a choice here and an opportunity to really, bathe in the beauty of the botanicals, which are really such a gift for us at this time and completely effective. Like, not only are the synthetics toxic, but it's, the long term, that, $20 eye cream or the $1,000 eye cream, it's just BS, and it's not gonna achieve the results that are pictured in the ad.
So, okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that basically these expensive like eye creams and everything out there, it's really not anything different, or it's not worth the price?
Both.
Okay.
And it's toxic. Like, not only is it expensive, but you're literally, and again, it's all on a microscopic level, but you're asking your body to deal with this. Like, just that you think innocently putting on some eye cream. It's just like you're literally, the body then has to sort of send emergency first responders to kind of like rebalance the area. And again, this is all happening on a level that's beyond our eyesight,
Right. Well, I want to also pull out something really simple that you said, and that was that we need our skin to breathe. I mean, that's actually really obvious, but not even something I've even thought of. That everything breathes, and what are we putting on our skin to simply allow it to breathe? And to me, that directly reflects the state of our planet right now, like how the lungs of our planet were burning, like all these mirrored, inner outer world, how it all reflects it, because we all have to breathe at the end of the day.
Yeah. And it's like, yes, I mean, we're going to, we wear clothes and we're probably not going to regress from that, which is fine. Right. But like, so there's other things.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine our city back into a place where it's like, or our world where we're all in our birthday suits running around.
And winter, would be hard.
We wouldn't do it.
So yeah, there's things we're not changing. So it's like, we can't like wear polyester and then be putting on the Lubriderm filled with petroleum at the same, we're just not giving ourselves a chance. So where we have choice, we've got to rock it.
A ho to that. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so there's so much I have like all these questions now. So when you started developing this product line, like what was the most important element that you wanted to include with curating all this?
Well, purity for sure, if that's what you're asking, but also just quality. Like, so there's lavenders and then there's lavender, you know what I mean? So there's synthetic lavender, there's like okay lavender, adulterated lavender that might be a mix. And then there's just like okay lavender. And then there's just beautiful lavender. And that's every single ingredient that I'm working with has to be like right up there to be like the best distilled, So since my 20s, I've been, sourcing out and working with small family farms and more artisan distillations of a lot of the raw materials that we're working with.
Wow.
And then there's just a whole good system, then, it's just so global and working with, people that and that you're seeing them thrive through the choices of us supporting their work. And then, it's just good things all around.
Yeah. Well, and so if a woman's like not really, let's just say she's not really someone who cares so much about her beauty regimen.
Yeah.
I'm going to paint the story here. Okay, she's, a busy, hardworking boss babe. She's going to work every day. She doesn't really have a lot of time. She's also got kids. She's also got a husband. She's managing all this and doesn't really put herself first at all. And Sally's about to break down and like get in an accident. Something's about to happen because she's not putting herself first. What can you tell Sally in this moment about beauty?
Well, Sally, it's hard. It can be hard with all of that on your plate and all of these people that love you and need you. But we do need to remember as much as we can to put our oxygen masks on first. You know what though, as much as I create many beautiful products, I like to keep it really simple too. But there's also just like, when people get into libations, they just want to make sure that it's covering every aspect of their body. So, we make things from like cuticle oil to shaving cream, but I can just as easily use the main one bottle of the best skin ever and do my cuticles and shave with it too. So there's a simplicity there, and I really like to go. But I feel like generally modernity is making beauty regimes for women way too complicated. Like I'm so not into the 12-step programs for skincare either. And you can keep it. We can, the queen who wants to, work with like 12 different products and anoint something different on her eyes and, her nose, we've got that covered. But also we really speak to the simplicity of it all. You could just go with a bottle of best skin ever. It can remove your makeup. You can wash with it and you can moisturize it. And you can use that to massage a baby. Your husband could shave with it and you can use it after you get out of the bath or shower. So really there's also simplicity to be found in that. And when you're working with things that are effective, you're not in that vicious cycle too of being so frustrated with your skin or, that kind of thing. I mean, one of the greatest feedbacks that I love that we get is just women feeling more confident in their skin.
Oh, yes.
Which is so great. Or they're like, I don't feel like I have to wear makeup now to leave the house, which is, you want that freedom.
What are some of the most common things you've found women struggle with within their skin?
Yeah. Well, a lot is going on right now with melasma or hyperpigmentation. So that's getting like the, brown patches.
Oh yeah, I have like a brown sun mustache. Can you see it?
No, I can't see it.
It comes up every now and then when I'm in the sun a lot.
Yeah.
It's like a mustache. I'm like, what is that?
So one thing you can do is just like zinc that out when you're in the sun for that. But also I have a blend called Doodab, which is for like, we have a whole family of doodabs and there's specifically Doodab helps, or there's also the Jewel Dab to help work with that. You just put on like a drop and then the Soothsayer serum really helps to clear it up. Like when people have been told, sorry, or like it can happen a lot for women in pregnancy because sometimes it's hormone related. And the doctors would just be like, sorry, maybe a laser will work after, you've given birth. But we've had women that are just like, oh my God, it's completely gone without just using those serums. So, and it's going to be different for some people. Some people will feel it, and it's not going to be probably overnight for that. I mean, some things will turn around overnight, but that's going to take a few weeks to a few months of just like doing that, but it will fade.
Okay.
So that's really exciting. But the main cause of that is some of the birth control pills we're on and also diets that are high in polyunsaturated fatty acids. So the PUFAs, which would be your, mazola, canola, soy, those rancid oils, which, and maybe you're not buying that liter of that, but it could be in your processed food. It's generally kind of 20 to 30% of any processed food recipe, like I'm speaking generic, but like, your Twinkies or whatever, there's going to be 20% of the PUFAs.
Imagine the last time I've had a Twinkie.
Yeah, I don't think I actually ever have.
Maybe when I was like 2 years old, someone stuffed it in my mouth or something. So what would be an oil that you can, bring into your kitchen so that you're not using some of that stuff?
Olive oil, just make sure it really is real.
Right. How do you know that?
Well, look for a small California family farm or like, a small group. Well, at the health food store, you're going to already have a better selection.
Right.
I don't know. There's also a site, and I have it in my book, but I can't remember it. But it's about like getting real olive oil.
Okay.
Coconut oil, beautiful.
Yes.
Ghee.
I'm obsessed with ghee.
Yeah. So that's good. Again, grass-fed, organic. So the grass-fed's so important. That's when the cows are eating in June and you get a whole other different vitamin profile.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. I don't know when I made the shift, but I just stopped with canola oil or any other of those oils.
Well, and unfortunately, a lot of people, there was some kind of programming where like advertising where canola was thought of as healthy for a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I try not to embarrass my son, but every time we go to Whole Foods, I'm like, with the deli counter, I'm like, you still have canola oil.
Oh my gosh, they do?
Yes.
I'm surprised.
And they're like,
well, Whole Foods is starting to become not the most trustworthy source.
They've always had canola oil.
Wow.
And they always have sold
Come
like
on,
Cheerios.
Whole Foods. Get with it.
Yeah. I mean, we're happy it exists when there's nothing else around.
Right.
But it's not just, you got to read labels.
Interesting. Yeah. Yes. Well, I often find that when I eat out, that's when I get the most like gut related issues it has to be the oil.
Yeah.
I don't cook that way here in my home. So, wow. So, I mean, what else? Like, what other skin,
and then
confidence issues? Like a lot of that.
Sometimes it's just sort of tone and texture,
right?
Which can really go off the rails So we talk about skin type, which is just really a marketing thing that came out of the 60s from Clinique, and it's not really. It's just a bit of hype because really we want to work towards just skin balance, and any of those things that come up, whether it's dry, patchy skin or eczema or psoriasis or the melasma or even dandruff, all those things are really actually all microbiome imbalances.
Really?
Yeah. All of that can be traced back to the microbiome. And I have a good chart in my book, Renegade Beauty, that goes through that. And then sort of, because now what they know too is when eczema happens, that whole area has then had a whole drop in beneficial bacteria to that area, for example. And so it's just really neat to take all that we knew about skincare and now layering that microbiome information on top. And it really makes everything make a lot of sense.
So does that mean it is related to diet, or is it mostly like what exactly would be a microbiome
kind of a combo.
imbalance?
I do say, like for me, I'm always, we always try and give more in-depth advice because often a skin thing is related to digestion and diet. But what I'm also amazed at is people experiencing Living Libations products and then having things like 10 years of cystic acne go away in like a month, or the appearance of acne scars, or like it all evolves, and they didn't change their diet. So I'm just happy, because sometimes that's hard too, where you're like, oh God, I got to do that on top of it. So it's just great.
It's a lot.
That for some they need to do both. Like some people just need, or it could be one thing that you're eating that's just triggering it, like soy.
Right.
Soy is a great creator of acne. And so are cashews.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
They're so fun. And my God.
I eat cashew like cheese all the time.
Yeah, it's so good. Cashew cheese and cashew cake, like cheesecake and stuff like that. And you don't have any acne, so don't worry. But if there is, I mean, it literally could be a trigger like that.
Wow. What about women who kind of go through some of those PMS symptoms, like, prior to with their skincare? I get a few acne related things from my PMS, but I know that I've heard so many, go through it within that cycle. So what would you suggest?
Well, you can, it just is really signaling that a little more balance could happen. And so often there could be congestion in the liver, because at the time the liver's got to process all those hormones. And if it's a bit sluggish, then that can be one of the roots of hormonal acne. And I just had another thing that just totally left. Also, just in the luteal phase too, like it's good maybe like adding in some evening primrose oil.
Okay.
And iodine is excellent for balancing all that out too.
I used to take iodine. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, like have a drop a day.
Yeah.
And I talk about iodine a lot in the book because it's so beneficial in the, well, we need it. It's an essential mineral that is like essential, like it's like magnesium.
Right.
Because we often think of it as just sort of this red liquid, but it's literally a part of our mineral system. And it's so amazing for keeping breasts healthy because they need iodine. It's the second gland, like the thyroid needs it the most. And the thyroid has an iodine symporter pump that works to do that, and so do the breasts. So they really need iodine.
Yeah.
And taking iodine also helps with like things like fibromyalgia. It actually makes it all disappear for most women.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do you think now, like, that we need to replenish and do all this stuff where, like, I kind of can't imagine back in the day we had all these regimens. Yeah. Why do you think now in our modern society all of these things are so necessary?
I think one of the key things is that our soil is depleted, and so we're not getting mineral-rich foods.
So it all comes back to the planet.
Yeah.
Our OG mama.
Yes.
Another reason why we've got to take care of her.
OG, as like Gaia.
Yeah.
Originally.
She's the OG goddess. Like, she started this whole thing.
Yeah.
Wow. What an interesting, I think that's sort of like a mic drop. It brings us back to what's really important and why it's so important that we pay attention to what's going on environmentally and how it's impacting us.
Totally. And then, so all the minerals, like obviously not all minerals are gone, but our soils are depleted. And then we have heavy metals.
Yeah.
And they're competing often for the same receptor sites. So if we don't have enough iodine, for example, then things like other halides will, like bromide, will take up that receptor site. And then our iodine, our thyroids, that could be contributing a thyroid being out of balance, which is a huge issue right now, especially for women.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so many more. There's just an escalate of issues that we're all experiencing, whether that be gut. Like, I've been pretty open about my UTI, chronic UTI. I've had that since I was 15.
Wow.
So it's been like all of a sudden this year I decided, okay, we're healing it. Yeah. Like, we're going to get to the root of this, Did
it come in when you were 15 after like a course of antibiotics or something?
I believe it was once I started being sexually active. And my mom, I spoke to her. I was like, did you put me on antibiotics? And she said she was really against that. So I might have been on one, but I'm really against taking them. So I've tried pretty much everything. The last cycle, I had a really bad one. I went on 2 different forms of antibiotics. They didn't work, but my body's not used to that.
Have you worked with D-Mannose?
I am working with D-Mannose. I take that. Right now currently, because I had symptoms a week ago, I take it like a couple times a day.
Yeah.
And then now I've been like, okay, I need to take this before and after sex. But yeah, it's just been a journey. Like, and I think that, to the point, it's just that I'm hearing more and more issues arise around all these gut, skin, in yoni, whatever it is. So I think that there's something deeper that we're really not looking at. And it might just be in the soil, but I think that...
Well, then we think of our guts are our own like little soil. That's our terrain. And again, we've wiped out the species. So, you definitely want to replenish after antibiotics with prebiotics and probiotics.
Yeah, okay.
And work with look for, over 50 billion CFUs, which is the colony forming units.
Okay.
Which is easy to find nowadays.
Yeah.
And then a diverse species on the back. You'll read all the little, like, you want some from the bifidus family, the lactobacillus family. We just made a Living Libations probiotic. And then because I wanted to make sure it was grown on the right medium. Yeah. Because it'll often be maybe GMO free, but it must be grown on a corn medium or rice. And so we grew ours on inulin, which is a prebiotic. So I just want to be in charge of the process and make sure
you really know your stuff. She's not fucking around.
Well, I'm not.
I'm enrolled. I'm like, okay, give me the whole line of products.
Well, it's like everything that I'm doing also because that's what I'm going to use or put on my body.
Right.
And to me, besides the beauty of just the purest and most beautiful botanicals that the earth has to offer, it's also just so fun. And it's kind of a fun game to get the purest of the pure. I mean, but it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that and I just want to acknowledge you're in it for the right reasons. You're definitely, I can feel your earthy goddess vibes and just being able to really connect to the true core of the mission is so important right now, you know, and it's not like, you know, I think we've been sort of taken by a lot of the greed and big money-making corporations that want to just sell shit to us that isn't even healthy. They don't even care, you know? And I think that that's like where I love being able to have these conversations because it brings us back to what's really important. And so that's amazing. I love the work that you're doing.
Thanks. Yeah.
Take us through like head to toe what some of your products do and what someone who's interested in either working with them or just starting a whole new beauty regimen, like what they would do for their face, what you would suggest, maybe their breasts, yoni, feet. I don't know how far you go with it all, but
well, on one level, I'm really simple, and I'll just literally take that best skin ever, get out of the bath, and like apply it all over my body, face, and even like for them, we make a beautiful breast health oil, which is designed for that. And I actually also in my book, I talk about how ingredients that are rich in monoterpenes, which is a lot of the essential oil world, and show the scientific studies that show how healthy it is for our breast, including limonene, which is another ingredient that's naturally found in essential oils. So it's really quite amazing what we can do. But I'll just, sometimes instead of taking that breast health oil, for example, I'll just, again, take that best skin ever. And just, you know, as you're applying it, it doesn't have to be this whole other moment. I just like spend a moment applying it to my breast with that little bit more of an intended massage. You know what I mean? So it's just sort of like, you don't have to be radically changing things, but you're just like obviously using good ingredients and then just, you know, take that extra minute, not an extra 10 minutes to just do it, like caring for your body. So you take that minute instead of slapping it on, where you're just like having that moment to commune with your body. So that's what I do. And I love.
And this is an oil or a lotion?
Yeah, the best skin ever. So I'll maybe use the rose best skin ever or the sandalwood, which is like an oil serum base. Great. But I love those even over creams. I don't know.
I'm not a big lotion girl anymore.
Yeah.
Once I found oils, I was like,
And if it's super Canadian winter dry, I might combine our lotion with an oil. Because we have like Sundew, which is a beautiful cream with vitamin D in it. Okay. So because topical absorption of vitamin D is excellent. The skin really drinks it in. So there's that whole realm. And if, you know, something's on my face, like a little blemish came overnight, I'll be using something from the dewdabs. And then we have ozonated dewdabs, which we run ozone through it, which is like excellent medicine. And then we've made the first ozonated lip gloss with this red root. So you can even have like nice glossy lips, totally like natural. Wow. And then we've got our oral care products, which are just so awesome. Like the dental serums, you can help with, you know, receding gums. I've got steps and programs for people that need to bring their gum pockets back down and around and that kind of stuff. We got shampoo, like every facet, and the perfumes. I love our perfumes, and those are so fun to make. So I have made everything for every little part of the body. But personally, I do keep it a bit simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, she just keeps getting better and better. You obviously have a team of scientists, or have you curated most of this yourself?
I've formulated everything myself.
The team.
Yeah. Amazing. No, I mean, I have an amazing team, and they help us replicate and further everything. You know what I mean? But I've got a great team.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So just you don't have to give us like all the ingredients, but what are some of the ingredients that you use? I'm sure people want to know, like.
Like our main beautiful oil is jojoba, which not a lot of companies use because it's like super exquisite and expensive, but it's like the best.
I didn't even know how that's how you said it. I thought it was jojoba or whatever.
You should know the jojoba with with the more Spanish population here. It's like
it's J-O.
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 Yeah.
Okay. Learn something new every day on this podcast, I swear.
So jojoba is beautiful, and it actually is like the most synergized with our sebum. So it has such a great synergy with our skin, and it's a liquid wax as opposed to an oil. I mean, it looks like an oil, but it's actually a plant wax. And so its stability is like 100 years if stored properly, which is a miracle. And in the natural world, you'll often get cheaper options like grapeseed or peach kernel or almond oil, which there's issues with the way they're processed. They're often not pure, but they go rancid in 6 months. So by the time that product's in your home, it's probably rancid.
Wow.
And we don't want to apply rancid things. So maybe it was natural, but it's rancid, and there could be solvents in it and stuff. And it's just not it doesn't have that harmony with our skin. So we use jojoba as one of our main fluids, and then beautiful things like rose hips and stuff. And then we still have that whole palette of exquisite oils, like definitely over 150 that we work with. So, we've got 4 types of frankincense that are gorgeous. And then and then it all depends on we have a couple types of cinnamon, and then some formulas will take a different type. And, so there's just all the riches of these beautiful ingredients. I love them all.
Yeah. It's probably fun being a little alchemist too, and curating all these new things.
Yeah. That's like my childhood dream. There
Absolutely.
I am. Like as soon as I smelled jasmine, I was like, oh my God, I basically have to mainland this for the rest of my life. So what am I, that's going to be my career somehow.
Yeah. Wow. You found your calling.
Yes.
Clearly. Well, that's amazing. Okay. Before we got started, you were talking about yoni, like how we take care of our yonis. And I'm super curious on what your tips and guidance is on that.
Yeah. Well,
I think first of all, most people don't even know we need to take care of that, right?
Yeah. Well, on one level, we kind of don't, but because that's another area. We can keep it simple. A lot of what we actually have to correct, we have to just stop doing a lot of stuff, which in the book, for different areas, I go through stop, seal, and seed. So for the yoni, it would be we need to stop using chemical laden tampons, which is everything that isn't organic. Yeah. The dioxins, the molds, because the molds that are causing probably the toxic shock syndrome, not that a tampon's up there. And then all the marketing stuff. I mean, looking at the history of what we've been told to wash our vaginas out with is insane, including causing deaths, literally from Listerine to Lysol. Look at the vintage ads in Google. Seriously.
People tell us to do that.
Oh, yeah. And the ads are, I think it's the 40s and 50s. And it's just husband and wife scenarios of my husband won't sleep with me because, not that they're even using that language, but basically because I smell down there. And
to treat vaginal bacterial, what's
just
vaginosis? I don't know.
Yeah, no, they're just saying normal, your normal yoni, not a yeast infection yoni, just normal yoni, not good. Scaring the husbands.
Yeah.
So women died from that. And then they went on to which is the less one? Which is less chemically, Lysol or Listerine? I can't remember. One came first, and then they started using the mouthwash.
Lysol. You're joking me right now.
I'm not joking.
These are ads?
Yeah.
On TV?
Google. So they're old magazine ads.
Holy
you got to Google them.
Isn't this insane? The way we've just been treated, in this world?
And then there's a whole bunch of, if you went to the drugstore now, I mean, there's a whole, I don't know the names of all the products, but it's crazy. The shower, the douches, the gels, the powders, the baby powder. I grew up, I never really did use baby powder, but my mom sure did.
Oh, for sure.
It was just what you'd talked that down there. And now we know that Johnson's & Johnson's knew that it could cause ovarian cancer. And somebody won a lot of millions, just from that, there was, that was just come out in the past couple of years. So talc's an issue, but just so the whole care is backwards. And then it was just marketed, and then we became sort of more shamed and more misunderstanding of our yonis and that whole thing. But really on one level, they're the original self-cleaning oven. They're meant to take care of themselves. So our yonis have a microbiome that's very important to us, and not having that microbiome imbalance, literally if the microbes are off, that could be the root cause of an infertility issue. Not necessarily every time, but that could be a whole thing. So you could be going down a very expensive IVF path, but it just might need, the microbiome might need adjustment. Or even gum disease, bleeding, receding gums, which is, there's a whole mouth microbiome. Even that can lead to premature birth, for example. So it's so hooked up. So if we're jamming tampons up there and spermicides and KY jelly, and KY jelly, it seems cleaner, but it's glycerin based, which causes the vaginal cells to do this thing called osmolarity. They release their water, the cells shrivel up. Then inside our yonis, we've got more dead cells sloughing off, which could make us more vulnerable to STDs. And it just throws the whole yoni out of whack. So I generally suggest not putting anything synthetic up there, right? Anything man-made. A man's okay, not man-made. Whatever your preference.
Well, that's good news.
Keep it real. You know what I mean?
What about menstrual cups?
I love the whole concept. I think it's a great revolutionary situation. And there are times, when women need to collect that, or maybe they want to pour it back in there, the blood back in there. So there's a lot for that. But again, I would say generally try not to put things up there that are, that are a different fiber, especially if you've got like some yoni healing to do. Yeah. So just stick with, there's a great evolution with period underwear. And just like using organic pads or that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I get it. There's going to be situations where you need a tampon. Maybe you're like an Olympic swimmer, right? Or whatever, and go for it. But just it's not going to be your main way to take care of it. There's even sheets and towels now that you can use like in a bed, so you can just let it flow at night. Because that's the other thing too. We kind of do need to let it flow. That's what we used to do. So we don't always want to be like absorbing it right up there in the yoni. And we just got to stop putting stuff in there. And then you want to seal and heal. So we've got some yoni serums, or you could use something like just olive oil and coconut oil. Mm-hmm. Even just a little dab every day just helps that. Because, we're wearing underwear and then we're using like toilet paper that has like little microfibers of not real things. So that can just help create a little barrier. And then reseeding would be, again, I think of our bodies as sort of this microbial bank account, and you want to keep like it up with sort of diverse investments and through including things like prebiotics, probiotics in your diet, along with like fermented foods, if those work for you, then you can rebuild up the whole microbiome, which will also affect the yoni. And then in times where you need to rebalance, you can also make, I have recipes in the book for suppositories. Right. So you can make yoni suppositories with probiotics in them too, if you need to rebalance the microflora in that area.
Wow. I love this conversation. Like, these are the conversations that we didn't have.
Yeah, we didn't.
We didn't talk about this. Our moms didn't know how to talk about it. I think most people just were like, here's a tampon, shove it up there.
Yeah.
You're bleeding. Oh, okay.
Oh, you have cramps? Here, go on the pill.
Right. That's what I did.
So weird.
Yeah. 15 to 21. I got off. I've been off for over a decade now. But it's really wild. That is awesome. I use the menstrual cup and lately, because I'm going through this healing process, I've been getting that intuitive hit to not use it. Yeah. So I think I'm going to take that advice.
Be free.
Yeah. Just let it roll. I'll just go, really, really find my primal essence and just get out in nature and let it bleed. Yeah, there we go. Can't we all just tell the world that's what we're doing?
Yeah. We're
go back to the red tents. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. There's so much juice in that. What are some of the other issues that you're seeing, outside of exterior skin, but in women's health, that are kind of rising to the surface that are very common right now?
Well, somehow you're making me just think of, really, we got to look at gut health. I feel like, because that's right. We're eating, that's that's your first thing that can go off balance. And this also can give you some good signals. If you know how your digestion is daily, you got to kind of be going once or twice a day. And you can get a lot of information from that. So if your digestion's off, if you have diarrhea or you're constipated, so either way, it's going to show up in your skin eventually. Deep blackheads and stuff, that's from congestion in the colon. So it really is all related. And so we really want to tend to the guts. We want to make sure that we're not irritating it or creating a leaky gut, through eating things like GMO corn and wheat and those kind of things, because it makes microscopic perforations in the gut. And then we're leaking proteins and things that weren't supposed to be circulating through the body. And that is just your sort of first, if that's not in order, then, you could, an autoimmune thing could happen, or something's going to come out of balance. Yeah. So we really want to step back and allow the bacteria to really be the beauticians and taking care of our body. It's kind of gross, but we really are, host to this banquet of bacteria.
I know.
And we want to make a nice home.
That's very true. I'm all about the homes and the creating that sacred space, interior, inner and outer, it's so important right now. And I think that's the topic of conversation that I've often found a lot of me when I get together with women and we're talking about things, the fact that we're even opening up to some of this stuff, I think is the first step, For years, for decades, we've been silenced in a lot of ways. So, here we are now speaking on podcasts and doing and having this conversation so that other women can hear that they're not alone. there's a lot of this happening, and that's the first thing. And then B, that, you know, we're all kind of like coming together, listening to our intuition and creating these products like what you've created to find a solution to what's going on. So, you know, I think we're kind of in the root of these like cutting edge, even though it's old. It's like this stuff has been around since the beginning, you know, using nature as really the healing power. But now we're just kind of seeing this evolution of women's health. And you went into women's studies. So I've always been fascinated with that as I've kind of, you know, curated that here with Goddess Collective. But what exactly like was that? What entailed within that? And what were some of your greatest like discoveries within that chapter of your life?
Well, one thing that was really fun was like the freedom to really research and write on subjects that I found fascinating. I mean, I did my thesis on the female orgasm. I wrote papers on Madonna. I did papers on midwifery. So I was interviewing midwives and then sort of putting a few mental notes away for when I would be giving birth. I'm like, okay, I get it now. And it makes so much sense. So that was and it's so freeing. And then also it felt modern. Like, or whatever, like, oh my God, this is really relevant. It's very topical. I'm not, you know, the first year I didn't find women's studies. I mean, I knew it was there, but I couldn't get, it was like full or something. So I was taking like Russian lit and writing papers on Rasputin. Totally fascinating, but like not relevant to my life at all. So that, it was just such good timing. And I even wrote papers on like, I was coming up with words like eco-misogyny and I was writing up because I thought if we call it Mother Earth, but we're not treating women very well, then where are we left? You know, things like that I got to explore. You know, even looking at how vegetarianism was political because the way we treat animals and meat, you know, it's just, I could do it all and get good marks for it. Yeah. It's really fun.
That's amazing. So what was like the best paper you wrote?
I love the orgasm one too. And that was my thesis. So, you know, it was the big paper. And I had to present it. And I remember my mom came and that was really sweet.
Oh.
Yeah. But, you know, the other woman in my thesis class, she did this awesome paper. I can't remember her name, but she did, she studied the Body Shop and it's like as a eco-colonialism. Whoa. Like as it is in this modern form of colonialism. It was fascinating.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That would be a really fun, like, I think if I were to go back to school, I'd definitely major in something like that.
Yeah. It was, and then even to explore like Taoism, which is so neat because they did have some neat things going on with female and sexuality and that kind of stuff. And then even I remember I did like African-American literature in early Americas, and we would listen to jazz at the beginning of classes. And it was awesome.
Where did you go to school again?
I went to Western University, and then I transferred to University of Toronto.
Okay.
What was also good was it really like developed my writing skills more because I don't think you don't get that. I mean, maybe some people do in high school, but I definitely had to, you know, I learned more about my voice. And then I had some amazing teachers that were supporting because I write a little more lyrically. I love rhyming. I love alliteration. And I had a teacher and she was I loved her and she was really bright and she was like, loved the writing. So
amazing.
Yeah.
What was like some of your biggest, like navigating some of your healing journey? What was like, for me, it was like my voice, really activating my voice. Like what was for you the biggest, most challenging thing that you've really worked through in healing?
On health journey? On one, I don't think I have like really major things. I feel like it's like little things, but I'm really sensitive. And so early on, I would just, you know, even if I was drinking coffee or having a smoke as a teenager, you know, those moments, I would just be like, oh my God, this doesn't make me feel well. Like sort of having that other body intelligence come in. And so I'm kind of like the princess and the pea with my body. And I just, you know, I love being in balance. And so I feel like a hair off, not on my head. I don't mind that being crazy, but you know what I mean? I just like, so I feel like I really catch things, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Definitely now going into my like 30s, everything is more sensitive than when I was before.
Yeah.
You know, just like even, having coffee or just certain foods.
I feel like there is an increased sensitivity too, because even foods where I was like, if I had gluten, I've known about not eating gluten for a whole long time, but I was like, if I ate, I was like, I think it's fine. Like, I think I'm fine. But then I just stopped because I love to experiment. And then I was like, oh my God, like so much micro tiny inflammation left that I didn't even know was related. Like, which I broke my wrist, unfortunately, one time, and then my fingers were cast, and we didn't realize that my pinky was sprained. So we took the cast off, and it was like totally kinky. I was like, oh, and so it remained that way for a bit. It wasn't very noticeable, but then I stopped eating gluten, and it's always normal.
That is very interesting. Well, it's funny you say that actually, because I sprained my pinky and I was in a cast, like as you just saw, I took it off, but she's still healing, and she's getting there.
How long ago was that?
I find this has been 2 weeks.
Oh,
yeah, it's very new.
Yeah,
very new. Yeah, so she's still healing.
Yeah,
but with gluten, it's so like I can feel my body flare up right after, and I also my heart rate increases.
Oh, a lot of people, it can create anxiety.
Yeah, anxiety, and I've like slowly narrowed down like what that was, and I think I love, again, we're having this conversation. We're kind of on this journey together, figuring out what it is. And also everybody's different.
Totally. Yeah, there really is no dietary path. I do feel like there are some things that generally, if you can, you want to probably avoid it, like wheat or, not fermented soy. It just really seems to create havoc, and obviously not processed junk food, and keeping blood sugar, around 80 is really key, because all disease starts with inflammation. And once your blood sugar is spiked, you're beginning an inflammatory process. So I think there's some general sort of principles that are really generic. But after that, it's so varied, because some people, lectins are a thing, or really high oxalates can be an issue. And those are a lot from the plant world. So, I love plants, but when we're eating them, they also have a defense system that's really quite potent. And so it's not like every plant on a food level is going to work for everybody either. Like even something like a zucchini could be an issue, or, the nightshades. So you really want to tune in. And that's what I even say with some part near the beginning of my book. It's like, use this as a guide, but then but you got to tune in to your and let go of everything I'm saying, because you're your own compass.
Right. Yeah. I love that. I think that's really what we're all exploring here, and everybody listening, like we're all just kind of figuring out our flow and really trusting our intuition as our greatest superpower, you know?
Is.
So I'm holding her lovely book here, and she's an author of many books.
Not many, just two.
Just two. Well, I think that's many is more than one, right?
True. And this book's thick for it could
it's
be like
big,
two.
You guys. Yeah. This is a big, beautiful baby. And her book is called Renegade Beauty. She gifted it to me. I can't wait to dive into this. Her tagline is reveal and revive your natural radiance. You wrote a book called Holistic Dental Care. That's like a whole new
it's a whole
exploration.
Other deep dive.
Yeah, I don't think we have time for that today. But
I got to say, in that book, there is a really good chapter on dental care. So you can really just start with the Renegade Beauty, and it probably will give you a lot that you need to know.
Well, I also was saying to her how amazing I love her name. Your real last name is Artemis, or your husband, or are you married?
He's actually changing his name to Artemis.
Okay.
Because we just realized it's a better name. And it was so cute when my son was young. I can't remember what he said, and it was really cute. He was like, oh. Like it was just, he really just thought the whole world had the wives' last names,
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, again, it's like, look at what we're creating. Like we don't have to do everything the way it was before.
Oh my God, no,
new paradigms.
We can't.
No, we're not. It's not sustainable. No. I think we are all here at least understanding of that now. So, well, it's been amazing. I can't wait to dive into this book and just kind of see there's so much, like a wealth of knowledge that you have. And it's perfect timing for me personally too. I always find, like podcast guests come on for me and for, just we learn something about everyone coming here, but good timing right now. And, this season we're sort of shifting out of that shadowy hibernation stage and kind of moving into the light coming back in. And it's a good time for us to, shine that light on ourselves and maybe start a whole new routine. And it's a new year.
Yeah.
So amazing. Well, Nadine, thank you again so much. I have a couple more questions for you before we wrap this up. What would you say to women right now that are potentially like going through a big phase of wanting to tap into their power or sovereignty, like what are some tips and guidance you have for them?
Like a calming, like a meditation or just a time of day. I know meditation can trip, like, oh, what is that? Am I doing it right? But just time to quiet your mind. And, also knowing your thoughts is important. So you want to be able to know like when you're thinking and when you're being given a thought. You know what I mean? So you're receiving thought or thinking thought, and receiving thought, then you're into it's that simple, and we all have it.
Amazing. What does it mean to you to invoke or be your inner goddess?
I think as much as possible is it's just like being in alignment to my inner being. Like, as much as possible every step of the way, and just requesting that I'm in alignment, demanding that to myself that I'm in alignment, allowing alignment, and just keep coming back to that integrity center. Yeah,
I love that. It's definitely a great lesson. I think we're all learning about what alignment is and how we can stay in that center and really discover that. I think it's a fun journey to go on.
Yeah. And it's something you're always going to be coming back home to, like every day, and you'll be in it for a few days or moments of the day. And it's the lifelong journey of like, you just keep coming back to that center.
Yeah.
You can't stay there.
Yeah.
But you can keep coming back.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. All right, Nadine. Well, where can everybody find you and your amazing creations?
Yeah. Well, livinglibations.com. The books for sale on that, and of course wherever books are sold, and then all the regular channels. But Instagram, I'm a little more involved with.
Okay, great.
Fun. Yeah.
And it's livinglibations.com. Okay. Well, Nadine, it has been such an honor to sit with you here today, and I wish we could go on forever. I always feel like they end so quickly, but I love you all so much. Thank you for tuning into this wonderful podcast. I hope that it brought you maybe a whole new rabbit hole of time to explore your beauty regimen and check out her products and see if they, will support you in whatever it is that you're navigating through in life. I love you. I see you. I hear you. I will see you guys next week. Bye for now.